11. That's how many Arabian oryx existed anywhere on Earth by the early 1960s. Today, more than 6,000 roam free across the Arabian Peninsula, and the species holds a title no other animal in history has ever earned. That shouldn't have been possible. 11 animals isn't a population, it's barely a bloodline. In 1972, a single rifle shot in the Omani desert ended the story of the wild Arabian oryx completely. The species that had survived ice ages, droughts, and 10,000 years of human company was gone from the sands it had shaped for millennia. But that ending had actually already been rewritten a decade earlier, in a rescue so narrow it barely counts as a plan at all. In 1962, with the wild population collapsing, a small team made a desperate call. Capture what was left before there was nothing left to capture. 3 animals were pulled out. Just 3. Combined with a handful of others scattered in private collections, the entire future of the species came down to 12 founding individuals, a genetic doorway so narrow that most conservationists would have called the species already dead. It wasn't, and what happened next didn't just save an animal. It revived a desert that had quietly been dying without anyone noticing. Because the real crisis was never just the extinction. It was what extinction did to the sand itself. A slow, invisible collapse that had been building for years before that final shot. The desert looked untouched. That was the problem. From a distance, Al-Wusta seemed exactly as it always had: golden dunes, empty horizons, silence stretching for miles. But silence was the symptom. For 10 years, nothing had walked this ground the way the oryx once did. Here's the mechanism. Oryx herds don't just graze. Their hooves break the desert's hardened surface crust, opening tiny fractures where rare rainfall can actually soak in. Without that constant motion, the crust sealed shut. Seeds that had waited decades for moisture simply couldn't reach it anymore. The ground wasn't resting. It was suffocating. Baseline surveys across the central desert and coastal hills confirmed it. Vegetation cover was thinning, soil structure was hardening, and the food chain built on top of it, insects, reptiles, birds, was quietly narrowing with it. If stories like this matter to you, subscribe and join us as we uncover how animals continue to reshape the world around us. The desert wasn't dying loudly. It was dying in a way almost no one could see. And thousands of miles away, in a handful of pens at an American zoo, the only possible fix was already running out of time. Saving the species meant trapping it first, inside a handful of pens at the Phoenix Zoo, thousands of miles from the desert it evolved for. Here's what almost nobody accounted for. The Arabian oryx isn't built for confinement. It's built for open horizon, for space to read a rival's posture from 100 yards away and simply walk off. Take that space away, and something breaks. Dominant bulls, packed into enclosures far smaller than any territory they'd ever known, turned on each other. Not posturing, fighting to the death. Each loss wasn't just an animal. It was an irreplaceable thread in a bloodline already stretched to 12 founders. Every birth, every death, every pairing was logged in an international pedigree book, tracking genetic diversity down to individual animals. And with a 260-day gestation cycle, there was no room for error. One bad season could unravel a decade of work. Slowly, brutally, the world herd grew. By 1980, the population had clawed its way back from the edge. But numbers on a page weren't the same as survival. The real test wasn't keeping these animals alive in captivity. It was whether a desert that had spent 10 years forgetting them would let them come home. In 1982, under the patronage of Sultan Qaboos bin Said, the gates opened on the Jiddat al-Harasi's desert, and the first captive-born oryx in history stepped onto ground none of them had ever known. Researchers expected the animals to stay close. Familiar shelter, food stations, water, easy monitoring. That's not what happened. Within days, the herds broke away entirely, splitting into small nomadic bands and vanishing into ranges spanning 100 to 300 square kilometers. Generations of captivity hadn't erased a single instinct. It had simply been waiting. Then came the detail that stopped researchers cold. Tracking data showed animals changing direction and traveling toward rainfall falling hundreds of kilometers away. Rain they couldn't have seen, couldn't have smelled from that distance, on ground they'd never set foot on. Somehow, they knew. Nobody had taught them that. Nobody could have. The animals had remembered how to survive the desert. Now the desert had to remember how to survive them, because a herd this mobile, this restless, was about to leave a mark on the land far bigger than anyone had planned for. The oryx weren't just surviving the desert anymore. They were rebuilding it. Every hoofprint mattered. As herds moved across Al-Wusta, their sharp hooves punched through the hardened crust that had sealed the ground shut for a decade. Each footfall became a small pocket, a place where seeds could finally settle, and rare rainfall could finally soak in instead of running off. Soil moisture readings began climbing. Botanical surveys logged plant cover returning in areas that had been barren for years. Insects followed the vegetation. Then came the reptiles, the birds, the whole chain rebuilding itself from the ground up. By 1994, the transformation was significant enough that UNESCO named the region a World Heritage Site, citing the reserve as a rare example of a desert ecosystem recovering in real time. But the most remarkable discovery wasn't in the soil. It was in the animals themselves. Researchers found the oryx surviving indefinitely without ever drinking standing water, shifting their entire feeding schedule to night, when desert plants hold just enough dew to meet every fluid requirement they have. The desert was healing, the species was thriving. And that success was about to run headfirst into a problem no amount of biology could solve. Today, roughly 6,000 Arabian oryx live across sanctuaries and reserves on the peninsula. In 2011, the species achieved something no animal had ever achieved before or since: a full reversal from extinct in the wild to vulnerable on the IUCN Red List. Not a symbolic gesture. A formal, measured admission that a species declared gone had genuinely come back. But the deeper story isn't really about the oryx. It's about what their absence revealed and what their return proved. An empty desert that looked untouched, but was quietly dying underneath. A captive population reduced to 12 animals, yet carrying enough genetic material to rebuild an entire species. Instincts that survived 2 decades of confinement without ever being taught. A landscape that healed itself the moment the right animal was allowed to move freely across it again. Once you see that pattern, it's hard to unsee it. Extinction rarely announces itself as a single event. It's usually the slow removal of something small and constant, a grazer, a pollinator, a predator, until an ecosystem that looks fine on the surface has already lost the machinery that kept it alive. Which raises a harder question than the one we started with. If a species written off as unsavable could rebuild a desert from 12 individuals, how many other landscapes are still capable of recovery if we simply gave the right species room to move? Even now, the oryx's story isn't finished. Fences meant to protect the herds also block them from following the rain the way they once did, leaving them exposed to the very droughts they evolved to outrun. Recovery, it turns out, isn't a finish line. It's an ongoing negotiation between protection and freedom. If stories like this matter to you, subscribe and join us as we uncover how animals continue to reshape the world around us. Somewhere else on the planet, Another species written off as gone is quietly proving the experts wrong again. That story is next. The desert was never empty. It was only waiting to remember.